Hey everyone, welcome back to The Whole Perspective. My name is Kevin Delory, as always, joined by my brother Kenny Phillips, and I'll explain that one later. I know it doesn't look like we're brothers, but you'll hear more about that. We're honored to have the second best pair of glasses in the mortgage game. Actually, today I'm going to give her number one spot, Corrina Carter. I've gotten to know Corrina, since I've been in EPM more than I've heard about her in the past. Gotten to have a few conversations with her and learned a lot about her this week. And I'm excited, Corrina, to have you on the show today. I'm excited to everyone else to get to learn what I got to learn. And if you don't leave here fired up, ready to attack this market, there's something wrong with you. So I'm going to let Kenny give a little background about Corrina, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Today we have Corrina Carter on the episode of The Whole Perspective. She comes with over 25 years in the mortgage industry. She's the president and CEO of CMS Mortgage Solutions out of Virginia. Through her years of experience and expertise, she became a coach, starting back in 2009, launching her consulting company, CMS Consultants. She's worked with thousands of homeowners, buyers, hundreds of business clients, and has become a sought-after expert in the mortgage industry. She has a mission to empower her clients by providing them with the tools, knowledge, and support to reach their career goals. You'll see her at almost every mortgage industry event, bubbly, smiling, having a good time. She has a selfie stick, catching memories and content. If you see, you love her. Let's welcome Corrina Carter.
Yeah, Kenny, we got some breaking news. She'll be joining us at our Broker Success in Atlanta at Battery Park on July 28th and 29th. So we're super excited to have you join us. Corrina, it was weird. Like I said, I normally don't. Jennifer drives me crazy. She sends me all these videos to watch. Today, I did watch too. And something you said, it felt like you saying it to me, but it was about family. It was about hiring family. I know that you have, your son and daughter both working for you, Deshaun and Nicole. And your employees have become like family. And I think a lot of people miss that. I was once told by a senior leader that you don't want to become too friendly with people. You want to treat your employees like they're your employees. And I'm very lucky. And the reason I introduced Kenny as my brother is we are like brothers. We have become family over 20 years. How do you not go to work every day and share, an office or be side by side with someone and not get to know them and not really, become family and close friends? And I'm lucky that I have probably 7 people that work for me that we've been together for 20 years and we're like family. Right. So, when you said that, that advice, everyone needs to listen to that. If you're a real leader, not a manager, not somebody just with a title, if you're a real leader, as a leader, how do you create that family? You have a great personality and you're a grandma, which I found out today, which I would have never guessed in a million years. But how do you create that family atmosphere in your office?
First of all, I want to thank you guys for having me. Second is my grandson is a senior in high school today. He starts his senior year. So yes. So I'll just give you just a quick background. I was a 12-year-old runaway, institutionalized at 14, pregnant at 15. So that's how I'm a grandma, Kevin. So unfortunately, yes, my daughter turned 38 in May. So that'll tell you, yes, I'm up there. I'm older than both you guys probably. But again, one of the things I always said was if I was to own a company ever, right, what did it look like? I always wanted, and starting my independence young at 12, 14, and 15, I kind of had to feel like, how am I going to get up and own my day? No one else is going to do it for me, right? I took that aspect young, carried it into life. When you bring on employees, one of the things to think about is how do you get them to own their day if you're not owning yours, right? And I don't mean if they're coming to work just because they're getting a paycheck, their W-2, they still have to own it, right? Feel like they're part owner, feel like they're part of the vision, feel like they're part of the culture. Quick experience, and I'll make it as short as I can. I had a new hire last year, someone I hired to bring on to kind of analyze my business, help me with writing. I'm really bad at writing. I cannot tell you enough. I can talk and we can have great conversations. And Kevin, we've had some good ones. And Kenny, we've laughed. But putting all this shit down on paper, putting all this down on paper, I'm really bad at that. I go back and edit my posts 100 times over because writing is my worst. So I hired someone to help me with that last year. And one of the first things was being in leadership and coaching. She wasn't really too sure if I was too close to my employees. And what that meant was, hey, do you have that boundary? So here's what I tell you. If you came in and analyzed my business, you would never know we don't do cookouts every Friday. We don't go to happy hour on Saturday together. We don't have slumber parties. But if you were to come in and analyze my business, you would think we do. Right. So we do have those boundaries. And when I shut the door, they know I'm serious. Right. But giving them that sense of ownership of their position, I think that's the biggest thing. So I've worked on that so many years, and then just really read a couple books most recently in the past couple of years. I was like, man, I was on the right thought process before this time, So I read the book that's about the start of Netflix and how they kind of let their people own their day and create their schedules. I think it's by Patty something. And then the book Traction is, I have 30 of them in my office. I give away to realtor partners. I give away to business partners in coaching, and talk about putting people in the right seat at the right time. You may not know that for everybody, but the mortgage industry is so difficult with the stress level that we're under in timelines and short timelines. We have 15 business days to really get someone from where they didn't own a home to where they own a home. And that's it. Agents or anyone can see you have a 30, 45-day contract. In most cases, it's 15 to 17 business days. That's all our team processing and loan officers will pretty much know that client one-on-one. Right. You're taking them from knowing their whole history to getting them into a whole different financial profile and situation. And to do that, that level of service raises also your level of expectations. So understanding what my staff needs on a day-to-day basis, as far as flexibility, timelines. Do they need a corporate culture where they have so many days off per year? Yeah, but can they be flexible there? I have one guy that's off today. He was on our 9:30. We have 2 days, 9:30 and 3:30. He was on our 9:30. He said, today's my day off, but I wanted to pop in because we have this one thing going on and we're not quite ready there, but the sellers need 60 more days in the house, and things just moved along to where the buyer has to postpone because of the sellers. That happens all the time too now. So popped on and said, I'm off today. I said, what are you doing on? But, then you get that reaction out of them by giving them a little bit more ownership of their position, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean you give them all the leeway in the world to then take advantage. And you have to hire fast and fire faster.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah, I always want everyone to be successful, because if I hire them, I made the decision. I don't want to let them down. But I wanted to share two things that I noticed this morning, just from before we even got on the call, and that was, here's what it says a lot about your leadership. Corrina had said to us, we were talking about marketing, how she'd attend this event, and she said, no, it's Deshaun. He's the one behind the scenes pushing. Right. Everybody likes to be recognized. And a lot of leaders that I've dealt with in the past they will never say anyone's name. They will say the company's name. And I don't know if people realize how strong and powerful that is, to recognize someone like Deshaun. Why he may not be the one in front of the camera. He's behind the scenes making it happen. So that was awesome. And the other thing is, I said this to you before the call, a lot of the guests so far, and you more than anyone, I think, have empowered me to share my story. Because you shared a story that, who I would never guess that meeting Corrina today, of where she was at 15. And I have always never really shared my story, being raised by a single mom and 3 older brothers. They, 2 of them always got in trouble. Since then, 2 have passed. And I only want you to see the Kevin Delory with this nice suit on and my hair perfectly combed, right? But I can get my story's messy as well, right? And that's something that you've really empowered me. Not just you, some of the other guests that have been on here have all had a similar. Christine Beckwith, on our last show for the recap, same, another story that was powerful to me. And I'm saying, why am I not sharing my story to make people want to be, see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, or see there's another way. So I want to thank you for that. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like I said, Jennifer always pushes me to watch these things. When I heard that story, so not just from professionally, personally, I wanted to thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's hard at times, and it took me a long time to come to grips. I ran away from home at 12, not because I was abused in a manner of where I felt like I couldn't live at home. I just felt like at that time, my father was not a present dad. He was there, but he went to work and came home. He was real old school, went to work, came home, had the remote in his hand, and he would serve dinner. My mom cooked 3 times a day before 7 a.m. for 3 home cooked meals. And then she started working. And I was just like, I just, for whatever reason, I just felt like, okay, this is not the path I want to go down. And I really at 12, and this sounds really, and one of the hardest things I've ever did was to put my family through it. I told my mom, if you don't leave, I'm leaving. And unfortunately, I left, and some people thought it was more than that, right? But for me, it was the hardest thing that I did, to put my parents through some bullshit I shouldn't have. But whatever reason, at 12, I was independent, and this has led me to where I am today.
Right.
Fast forward, my dad passed away 4.5 years ago as my best friend. He helped me with my business every single day. He came to work. He was my carrier. Every bank in town knew who my dad was. Oh, you're the mortgage lady's dad, because he would go deposit our checks. He would go to all the title companies and pick them up. And my parents lived with me for almost the last 12 years of my family, my dad's life. So I helped my dad retire in 2006 early, so that way he didn't know he was sick then, but he really couldn't do his job anymore, and spend the last 10 years with my mom. So, so when people see me on Facebook, they're like, how did she get there from being literally institutionalized? I wasn't in a bad girl, like a camp where you just go and they send you. I was literally in an institutional where they had 12-foot brick walls, where I was the only one there that was not committed by court. So, and I was like, they kicked me out 60 days later, said, you're not crazy. You're just different. You know what I mean? So the people that were there were literally, I learned a lot about some unique people at 14 being institutionalized with some really people. So I'm crazy in my own way today, but a little different that way as far as that. So I had some unique roommates back then. But, in saying that, we all get to a place of, how do you own that? And part of that is my parents. My parents never kept my daughter until I was like 6, till she was like 6 or 7, because they didn't want me running the streets as a young teenage mom, and they had really strict rules. I was raised real strict Catholic. No explanations. So it was, for me, it was like, I'm going to find my path some way. And that hurt a lot of people. So being on Facebook and telling my story, or, my team now, knowing I'm opening another office in my hometown, the kind of coming home of what Corrina's doing, people are kind of surprised. This girl really turned out not to be so bad, So I became the rock of my family, that I actually ran away from my family. So a little bit deeper than that, Kevin, but thank you so much for listening to it.
Corrina, let's, you're a successful CEO of a mortgage company. You're growing. There's a lot of smaller, mortgage broker shops out there. Give them a little bit about your key to success. I heard you say some things about, making sure your LOs become proper LOs, knowing how to do DU, knowing how the products, not just getting on the phone when it's a hot market and, taking applications, and then, making them become a better them, right? And not duplicating or being copycats of the industry.
Yeah, I always said too, is there's a right time for everything. So not only put my employees in the right seat, the right time for me to be in the right seat. This is the right time for me to be a CEO. Even though I've been a CEO for 17 years, 2005, 2007, 8, people didn't want to come work for me. I made them run their own DU. I made them learn the guidelines. I created a 20-hour course for the NMLS when it first came out, before they had to take it. And a lot of people didn't want to come work for me because they didn't want to do all that stuff. They just wanted the business card and the phone and be at the bar and say, hey, I'm a loan officer. No, I want you to be a proper loan officer, right? And what that looks like. I think changing for the times, I've adapted a lot more in the past 5 years, Kevin, thanks to my young COO who has pushed me forward like no other, right? Because you can't stay in that old school. You can still do some of the bigger stuff we're doing as a smaller company, because I mean, we may be only 35, 40 deep in employees, and we're bringing on 3 teams here this summer, but some of the stuff we're doing, we can do as a small company, but there's so many people that think I have hundreds of employees just because how big we look now on social media. But that's thanks to my team, thanks to Deshaun, and everybody here works at the same pace. And like I said, to get to the same goal, our industry for timelines is unaccounted for what they have to accomplish in a short period of time. So giving them some grace and forgiveness before they make a mistake and then teaching them the right way, I think that accounts for too. Kevin said it best too, is a lot of managers don't want to pass on that knowledge. I've got 3 local brokers here that I've trained, 2 that actually worked for me and went on to own their own shop, and I'm okay with it. And we have a little bit of healthy competition. And that's because if you come on to work for me and you decide that's what you want to do, I want you to be as successful as you can. And if that surpasses me, I'm okay with that, because it's only me that can work as hard as I can.
Well, I think that's what's tough, right? I'm glad you said that, because I used to say, why would I want to be in leadership? I could still hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases. I don't want to be a coach. I want to knock the cover off the ball. And that is something that is not easy to let go of. And you just said like 5 years ago, kind of changed. And for me, it was, it was probably in around 2014 that it changed for me, where the company we're at was good, exiting the market, and everyone looked at me and said, what do we do next? And I'm like, wait a second, I'm the cleanup hitter. I'm not the coach. And I had to become the coach. And it took a lot for me not to want them to be me. And I think, and then to learn all of those things of making sure that I'm give everyone credit, making sure that it's their time to shine. I'm not the star player anymore. When you're the coach, you're in the back seat. And, so I'm glad you shared that. I think sometimes people tune into the show and they think, well, we talk about is mortgages. And I'll share a quick story. I think I'm going to share this before. I had a neighbor come up to me and be like, do you know I watch your show because I'm learning so much about how to be positive, how to be a better leader, how to do all these things. We've been through a lot. Corrina, Kenny, myself, we all been through the crash. We never left. We could have went on to do something easier, I'm sure. But we don't like to lose. And your story, coming from where you like to win. So these times when people get nervous, tough times, you don't know tough times until you're 15, right? With your story at 15, or my story growing up, or, Kenny's stories. And I think that's what is so great about you, is I never would have guessed that, because I do think you're unique, by the way, not crazy. But we are unique, both of us. I think, to wear glasses like this, we got to own unique.
Yeah, we got to own it, right?
Yeah, and that's why, in the times like this, people are probably saying, did she really say she's opening up a new office right now? Hell yeah, she is, because that's who she is. And Corrina will not only be successful in that, she's going to blow it out of the water while other people struggle, because of your mental toughness and the fact that you surround yourself with a great team.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree there. I'll say one thing is, I'm very, for the first time, I say, past couple of years, yes, but this right now shows the strength of my team. My team comes to work every day happy. They have no idea what the outside world looks like. They hear about it, right? But they don't really know what the outside world looks like. And also, I'm first in, last out. Right? So meaning if I'm going to do the hard work, they know I've did 100,000 steps sweeping and getting dust out of that new office for construction to get business in the door for them, right? Not for me, for them, to feed my family, and they're part of my family. So if I can go out and do that, then they have to show up every day for me and own their day.
Yeah, it just makes 100% sense, right? You
Right.
buy in, they buy in. I think that when you show them that you're willing to take the necessary steps to be successful, I think when they're family like that to you, they're only going to follow suit. They're only going to follow suit.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's one thing we do, Kenny, right? So if someone has a tough time, we'll say, well, let me show you. I'm not afraid to do it.
Right.
I'll never ask anyone, and that's what you're saying, Karina, is I'll never ask anyone to do anything I'm not willing to do. And I think that's what true leadership is. And I think that, the struggle of where we are today, how we got to where we are, is what makes us different. And the fact that you have the same people and you keep training them and you open up these offices where everyone else is running, it's you tackle it head on. And listen, anyone that meets you loves you. Right? I can't say the same, but I'm trying to get better. But you get what I'm saying, because there's just a realness and authenticity about you that is infectious, right?
Thank you. Can I give you 3 words, Kevin?
Yes.
So I taught high school. So I'm doing a giveaway this year. It's my first one. I'm giving away $17,000 for 17 years as ownership and CEO and entrepreneurship, and 25 scholarships for 25 years in the mortgage business.
Wow.
In that 17. So we're giving that away August 5th. But when I was teaching high school students this year on financial literacy, because I do community service too, and I was talking to them, these are my 3 words. And I was like, how can I put it to them when they leave high school? And even my grandson has 6 more months in high school. What do they need to do? They need to find their grit, their grind, and their hustle. And we need all 3 people. We need what I consider your 9 to 5, your worker bees, your people who are going to come to work and do absolutely an amazing job. And then we have those people who are entrepreneurs. So my grit was, the light bulb went off young for me that I wanted to be independent. What did that look like, right? I never knew what it really was until I stumbled, that's another story, onto mortgages. That light bulb went off. The grind is that showing up every day. So your people who work with you, for you together, they're going to have some of that grit because they like coming in. They like what they do. Hopefully they're in the right seat at the right time. And their grind is showing up for you. Now you're going to take that other person who just happens to be all 3 of us on the call, right? And we carry it over to that hustle. So not everybody has that. And that's okay because we need both people, right? So, but you got to have the grit, the grind, and the hustle. And some people will fault the people that go past the grind, right? And that's probably me right now in the business, is like, what the hell is she doing? But the first month, November, January, when we went down by 20 or 30%, I said, shit, we're doing this. We're opening the other office. We're getting the bigger office. We're getting a billboard and what that looks like. And that was part of me going past that grind. At my age, I could very well stay on the grind and be okay and sustain and make a very good living. I'm not going to support 4 generations like I do off of that. And I'm not going to feed the rest of my family, which is my work family, forever off of that. And that's what they show up every day for. So I had to get my hustle back.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, well, actually, Kenny, I'm going to volunteer you.
What's that?
We're each going to donate $500 so we can make it $18,000 for your scholarship. So
There you go.
Oh, that would be awesome.
email us
Absolutely.
the information afterwards, and we will send over the money. Kenny, don't hate me afterwards. All
No,
right?
that's all right. Listen, no, it's for a good cause. But I tell you, the hustle part is something that you can't teach, Corinne. It's in you. You can teach, mortgage information. You can teach about rates and everything else. But the grind and the hustle is something that comes naturally. It's kind of the differentiator between the successful and the unsuccessful. So, no, I love that. I'm going to actually wrote that down.
We're having shirts made next week, and we'll send you one. I love
The grit, the grind, the hustle.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
the grit, the grind, and the hustle. I want
Right.
to do a whole podcast just on that because we need all 3 pieces, right? And all 3 pieces can apply to whether you show up for work and you work with someone, for someone, or if you're an entrepreneur. Some people want to be an entrepreneur without having all the grit, the
Right.
grind, and the hustle. And some people want to be an entrepreneur and not start with the grit, So I think that's really just where you kind of focus some of those. So I was teaching these high school kids and I was trying to figure out, some of them really had a lot of the facets I saw in myself, and some were just like the entitled as some are today, and like, I've never did anything but sit in front of a computer. What can you do? I was like, how can you own that hair salon? How can you be that entrepreneur that goes to someone's, like right now, I need my nails done. I don't know if I'm going to have time this weekend. I would pay for somebody to come to my office to do it, right? And my neck is so sore from mopping this week. If I had a masseuse walk in the door, I would be like, I'd spend y'all's $500 quick.
I tell you, I listened to your podcast, Corinne. You said a couple of things that stood out. You had like a top 15 to success, and two things you said were be bold, right? Separate yourself, and always be learning.
And always be learning. That's in my other podcast room. And people ask, why do you go to conferences? So one of the things is I learn something at every conference, right? And take something. You can't apply everything. So right now in today's market, one of the questions was, how can, cold calling be effective? Agents are striving for people to talk to them right now because they're so shook up. And loan officers are kind of scared to talk to them because they're not really sure what the agents are looking for. I daily talk to agents and they're like, no one calls me anymore.
Right.
So can you believe it? So one of the things that I've been teaching my staff, I said, I can't coach other people through this if I don't do it. So we do every Thursday from 11:15 to 12 o'clock. And we kind of walk through what's gone on the past week and this. And the biggest thing is we talk about the cold calling. We talk about picking up the phone, talking to agents we haven't talked to, but we also talk about the lunch and learns, right? Whether it be now they can all be virtual. You don't have to absolutely go into it. So one of the things we're doing with our offices, I said I would never open another commercial space or sign a lease again because I own my 2 buildings. But our office is going to be a community office. So I made it an open space office. We're putting actually a brochure and flyer together for paint night, teachers work night, gender reveal parties, birthday parties, bachelorette parties. I have enough seating for 50 people in the office. Right. I have a cafe bar, and we are going to loan this out to the public for free. So I am getting the public to advertise for us.
Wow. You said something about cold calling. I'm not to cut you off, but it's a lost art, honestly.
Yeah.
It's truly a lost art.
As you see phony baloney over here, I put the eyes and mouth on this phone because people, I believe in conversation over communication. Like this is so enjoyable to have a conversation with someone and look at them and versus be shooting an email back and forth. So
right. I spoke to a junior account executive yesterday out of Texas, a guy named Michael, who's doing a great job for us. And he said, asked for a tip. And I said, you know what? Cold calling is a lost art. No one does anymore. We depend so much on technology, but we lose the touch and feel of that, building that relationship by talking to someone or seeing someone. You say you use Zoom a lot, Corrina. So we have to do those things in order to succeed in this industry, especially in this market.
Yep. Can I give 2 tips out there to the LOs that are listening?
100%.
Absolutely.
One is we don't use this enough. We give free credit analysis every day, right? So we offer free credit analysis every day. So we can give them solid advice. We can then give them a copy of their credit report. They have access to everything we have access to. So that free credit analysis, we don't use that enough every day, as well as talking about, as far as, like you said, as far as the lunch and learns and what they do, and being able to offer some other solid advice. One thing we don't do is also promote. We gave over $500,000 in lender credits last year.
Wow.
So we don't promote that enough. What can I do to help you get your paycheck sooner, Mr. or Mrs. Agent? Because I'm going to help contribute to those costs for closing costs. So involve me in your contract negotiations, because I'm going to give a free credit analysis, and I'm going to work on getting you those lender credits to help with some of those closing costs, because this is what we gave away.
That's what Chris Gordon said, the same thing. It reminds me of one of our first episodes, and Chris said, be a mortgage advisor. So what happened was in the last 2 years, everyone got so busy. It was, here's a loan, I can't give you a loan. Here's a loan, I can't give you a loan. Nobody sat like the old school grade A loan officers that will continue to do well and say, I can't do it today, but in 3 months, if you do this, this, and this, and pay off this bill, and this late falls off, and this happens, that happens, I'm going to call you every month, and I'm going to check on you to see how you're making out towards your progress of obtaining a new home.
Right.
That is what's going to make it. That is what's going to separate the order takers from the greats. But I did want to thank someone, Corrina, on this. You told a story, and I want to thank your boss at the timeshare company you work for that wouldn't give you the time off for your 4-year-old nephew. Because thank you, whoever you are out there, because now we have her in our industry. So thank you for not giving her the time off. But see, that's the type of leader that you are, that you get that through experience, that, family needs to be, important to people, and they need that time away. But whoever that guy's name is, we don't need to say it. Thank you.
Paul. Paul fired me.
Paul fired you.
Paul, good job. Thank you. We thank you.
Greatest opportunity in life, right?
Yes, absolutely. But we have one question we ask every guest, and Kenny is the owner of that question. So I can't wait.
Kind of like the golden nugget that you share with the mortgage industry. How do you define your value in the mortgage industry?
How do I define my value? So I'm going to go with what Kevin said, and I have it on everything, is always be learning, to where my new persona is that girl learning. So Deshaun has created me a website. That's going to be the name of my podcast. It's going to be part of the book that I'm writing. And it's, for me, you are always learning your craft. So I think for that, that's my value I bring to my clients. Also, always say, I don't know. It's okay, because that's part of your learning, right? I'm in 50 million different directions. I will tell a client in a heartbeat, I'm not 100% positive. Let me check on that and I will get back to you. So many people come to the phone or the conversation with, they always have to be right. I start that conversation with, I'm never 100% perfect. I'm never perfect, and I'm never 100% right. So I am always learning. So I think that's the value that I bring. I think Absolutely so, maybe, besides my glasses.
Wow. The glasses are amazing.
Corrina, I can't thank you enough. I really enjoyed this. I really can't wait to the next time we get together. And I'm sure I'll see you at Vision 2020 in Tampa. I'll be out there for 3 days. I can't wait to, just to share some other things that I picked up from some of your appearances. And I'm super excited that you decided to join us.
Absolutely.
And again, thank you for letting me tell my story, because
the best part about this, honestly, is preparing for it. You learn so much. We have such a short window to talk to you, but you pick up so much from listening to what you have to say.
I normally don't, by the way. I'm normally the worst at it, because I like to just freewheel it. I want to just ask what I want to. And I said, I got some time this morning. And then and it was so good for me, because, again, I thank you for allowing me to put down my armor and share my story, because going forward, everybody's going to know about it.
I appreciate that. And Kevin, you got to check out my new site, CorrinaCarter.com. They did a great job with it. My glasses made the site.
Really?
I'll have to do a picture of mine we can put up there. But I want to thank everyone for listening to the Whole Perspective podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to continue the conversation, head over to Empower Brokers Community Facebook group, or EPM Wholesale on Instagram at EPM Wholesale, or just email Kenny, myself. You have any questions for Corrina, I'm sure she'll be happy to help you. One thing about Corrina is that she's always willing to listen and share her advice and knowledge with other people, which a lot of people want to keep it all to themselves. That's what makes you a great leader. So thank you, Corrina.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.